Good evening and welcome everybody, it's Obi-Wan Pez for Simplex Pachinko. We are going to be doing some TitansGrave type stuff tonight. Not that one. That's better. And in fact, only slightly because we want to move this up. And get that out of the way so that, no offense, but you can't see my URL. Not that it matters. Okay. So tonight we are doing some work with TitansGrave, the Ashes of Volcana, and trying to come up with a few ideas for this BBEG encounter that these guys are going to have this weekend. Okay. So first of all, where are we? My goodness. This is going to be... Where are we in the story? This is chapter chapter 6 in the book. That does not necessarily mean that we are chapter 6 in the story. But nonetheless. I'm going to want this as... that's pretty good. Although... Arial change to... When do we do the rest of this in? Laura, right. These other ones did haven't changed back to Laura. Okay. Okay. Everything is now out in Laura. That's where we wanted to be for that. Okay. So for chapter 6, what we want is that our heroes find themselves in an underground location. And they are, I guess, in the overground location first. They spot themselves on the television, and news is not good. They have been essentially blackballed from all of society. Okay, that's at the end of chapter 5. So in chapter 6, they are making it to okay. We're going to want outline, chapter elements, and then main story. In the meantime, I am trying to find a pair of tweezers that I need in order to help make a mini of the particular menace that they're going to find at the end of this chapter. Well, not quite at the end, but I seem to not be able to find the particular tweezers that I wanted for this. I do have a set of medical tweezers downstairs, but like I don't really want to use those for painting project. I'd rather keep that for, you know, like medical stuff. Oops. Where did I put the other notebook? Oh, that's too bad. Might be downstairs. That's unfortunate, but it'll be fine. Okay. Okay. Okay, so our boy Auker is a NPC who basically has availed himself to this particular group to help them out in whatever ways is pretty much necessary. In my game, Um, Ocker rushed up during a terrorist bombing and assisted one of our guys in putting out a fire. Um, in doing so, he kind of ingratiated himself to the one character in particular, and the rest of them now think that they're an item. I have not disabused them of this notion. Um, I also gave the new guy who's coming this week the option to play this character. I was like, okay, there's some baggage that you need to know about, just in case you're not comfortable. He was like, yeah, that sounds it's fine. It's just, maybe I don't want to be the butt of everyone's jokes forever. So I was like, all right, I can definitely understand that. So we've made him a new character, and since we're like, okay, he's an undercover cop, he's been working with the gangs, he's now, um, like basically he's stuck underground, and now he's heard covert intel that there's a group coming down here. So now he is basically seeing them as the out. He has to get out, and the BBEG is going to find him out eventually if he doesn't run. But how do you run when you've got, dangerous things all around you and everybody else is brainwashed? So, basic idea again here is that the party is coming down to the sewers. They're going to make it to the opposite end of the arena, big giant arena essentially. And then they're going to meet the BBEG, and they're going to find out that they definitely at level 3 cannot take the BBEG on. And this is quite possibly the scariest encounter that I have ever built. Hey, the Frank 2. Yes. Currently, the party is on the run from a giant blind Yeti type creature that is in its preferred territory, i.e., the dark underground. There is no light, and they're going to have to stumble their way. Fortunately, like one or two of them have dark vision, but I'm like, well, you have to have some light in the first place in order to see using dark vision. You have no light. So, dark vision does not help when there is no light. So basically, we're getting them from one side of the map to the complete opposite side. They're about probably 2/3 the way through, probably 3/4 the way through, like everything that we have planned for this section. Basically, what's going to happen is they're going to have to probably fight the big Yeti thing, and then I suspect that they're not going to have an issue with it because they haven't had an issue with literally anything that I've done so far. So like I've beefed it up to about 200 hit points compared to their. I mean, they probably have 200 total between 5 of them. And they have 1 NPC. So it's kind of like, well, I think they're going to make it. It's just a matter of, are they going to make it kind of boring for themselves in just absolutely slaughtering this thing? But it does have a natural armor, and so like a lot of their hits are just not going to do anything. But turnabout is fair play. They did also get some armor that like reduces their damage by 5. I mean, it's ridiculous to have this level of armor at level 3. But one of the guys is a gnomish tinkerer, and so like everything is 100% just super easy for them. Like, oh man. He rolls bonkers rolls. This is Fantasy Age. So if you've ever seen... I need to make a command for this. If you have ever seen TitansGrave... This is the introductory video. Oops. Co-written by Will Wheaton, his son Ryan, and Jackson Lansing, who is pretty big in the comic book writing scene. So he's done a bunch of stuff. So yeah, everything is 3d6 basically. It works out a little bit better because it creates a like pseudo bell curve. Whereas if you do this in D&D, everything is linear. Like you get exactly the same chance of getting 1 to 20. Being a massive success or a massive failure is only 1 in 20 each. Whereas the 3d6 system, if you get triple ones or triple sixes, there is a 1 in 216 chance of either of those happening. I mean, like, it's fun and all, but at the same time. I did like, what was it, Star Trek, I think, did 2d20. And there's some mechanic to make it work. And there was also, I did something somewhat recently. I'm not going to remember. We did something somewhat recently that was a different system, and like it also created kind of an interesting dynamic. Oh, actually, when I watched Daggerheart, right, that was kind of interesting because it was like, you have 2 dice, which is more or less like how Lasers and Feelings works, which you have like your die roll and then it pulls you one way or the other toward lasers or toward feelings depending on what you're using more. The threshold of success ends up changing by how you use it. Daggerheart's different, but it's kind of interesting. So, and then I picked up this last year. It's called Sanction, which is a really interesting / weird way to do things. I use it inside of TitansGrave. Anytime that I've got a lot of characters just like roaming the field, especially in this upcoming encounter, they're going to have something like 20 to 30 NPC enemies, and like I can't keep track of all that necessarily. And it would be boring because I'm not going to roll 30 times and be like, yep, all right, there you go. Instead, what we can do is roll in Sanction and say like, okay, well, the threshold for success is a 4, and depending on what you want to do, you're either going to roll a d4, which is going to be, if you're doing something that your character finds challenging, a d6 if it's kind of, meh, and a d8 if it is like your specialty. Then you also get to upgrade your die from D4, D6, D8 to D6, D8, D10 if you can justify using one of your Fantasy Age focuses. So you're like, okay, so not only do I have a high score in this particular thing, but I also can use a focus in engineering to like throw something together out of this scrap metal next to me. And it's like, all right, well that makes sense. You could do that. Why don't you upgrade to a D10? And now again, you only have to go to get a 4. So it's marginally better. It's 50-50 technically if you're on anything through a D6. Because 1, 2, 3 will be a fail, 4, 5, 6 will be a pass. On the lower dice, D4, and in fact, if you select something that's so hard that like you're likely to fail it, you can get downgraded to a D2. Minimum threshold for success technically is 50%, but like it basically is just saying like how far out of the hole do you have to get before you can actually like have a better chance. I have to read more about that because like why would you downgrade at all, even to a D4 if it's 50-50? It might as well just be a D6. But yeah, D8 ends up being again 3/8 failure and 5/8 success rather than 50-50. And if you can get a D10, then you've got a 30% chance of failure, 70% chance of success. So it really encourages people to start discussing like what are their actual specialties in their character, do a little bit more role playing, do a little bit more theater of the mind, imagination type stuff. Like I said, it's mostly for, large scale encounters. So like I said, 20, 30 NPCs that they're going to have to fight. But not only are there 20 or 30 NPCs, there are also the BBEG is going to stick his head out. And I say BBEG, to be fair, there are 4 of them. I was reading through the Fantasy Age Bestiary, and I came across an entry for Charnel Knight. I was like, absolutely. These are basically just Death Knights. They either feed upon or will start raising dead and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, let's bend it a little bit. And then I looked at the plot hooks at the bottom over here, and it says the 4 Horsemen. And I went, oh, yes, they are. So the idea here is that basically there is an old... I made it so that there is an old nanobot colony that basically started messing with things. Not so much the stat blocks. Yeah. This is also first edition, so there's probably one that actually came out for second edition, but so yeah, I said that like basically the nanobots kind of found their way into some material which made it to Valkana, the planet, and then in these 4 particular locations they started constructing stuff. Eventually they found their way over to Orions, who are the robot species of the world, through the Fantasy Age techno-fantasy setting. And the Orions who took these up have now become essentially Death Knights. And the one that we are going to be meeting this weekend with our new guy, uh, is a particular fan of a particular work. So I don't know if you can actually see that, but well, they, I guess, are going to be exclusively talking in Sun Tzuisms. Because they are war. The other three are on a rotating basis. They will work their way around the continent and perhaps settle down and go find some interesting. Yes, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Exactly. So I have extracted something like 12 particular quotes. I also took the early stuff way at the beginning. The 5 constant factors. And I took all of the 5 constant factors, the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline, and I've turned them into special attacks. So, like, he's basically going to rotate through all 5 of them. On his turn, or on their turn, they're going to activate whichever one they're on, and then it's going to either buff allies, debuff the party, or like influence the other characters around him to do something, around them to do something. So the moral law essentially is the moral law causes people to be in complete accord with their rulers, so they will follow them regardless of their lives, undismayed by danger. They're going to get bonuses to their melee to hit and damage. They're going to get willpower boost, and if they are left either alone or with one other ally immediately around them, and the party is kind of harrying them, they can rout. And then when we get down to commander, the commander stands for virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. I'm using wisdom, courage, and strictness, and I'm saying that wisdom gets them. No, wisdom gets war a bonus. Wisdom grants war a +1 to the next round of bonuses that are given out. So everything that they do to their allies is now going to be boosted by 1. Courage, they're going to boost the willpower of any of their allies immediately. And this is the thing, it's not going to be everybody on the field. It's going to be the ones who are within 5 meters, which is still a huge amount of space in Fantasy Age, but still. So 5 blocks. And strictness. Any enemy which has routed will receive I believe, 1d3 damage electrical shock, and then be forced back around to fight again. So basically they've got an electric shock collar on them. And then by method and discipline, I think is going to be rearranging the group into a strategically better arrangement, and then attacking again on the next round. So should be rather interesting. Heaven, I said, is going to be they cause 6 of their people around the field to launch grenades at the party. and they are night, which will cause like magical darkness, day, which will be basically a phosphorus grenade, cold and heat, obviously ice and fire. Times will be a slow bomb, and then seasons is going to be wind, which I turned into let it be concussion grenade. So it's going to give you like minus stuff to whatever. But they can only hit directly. It's not going to be like, everyone within 2 meters is going to be affected. That's way too powerful. And I would worry. I would, I'm actually worried as it is right now that this is too much, that they're just going to be steamrolled. But the point here is not to win. The point is survive for like 4 rounds until the elevator comes. How's it going, Famished? And here is our arena for this. We're going to have pillars at those 6 locations. And then we have our elevator here at the top. And then we have all the way at the bottom. They're like essentially stadium entrance, which is just going to be like a small ramp to get, well, like a running out of a dugout or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is. Bought some creamer for coffee and pizza. Nice. Almond milk. I mean, it's almond juice, but And then our current map that we're on right this second is this one, where it's a half-finished maze. They have to run through a bunch of stuff in order to not get murdered by the large beast, which is in this area. And rather than just rush the party, this beast is very much interested in trying to separate off 1 or 2 people and then trying to eat them. So play with your food first, right? So should be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Do. The Claustra are a species of wild folk who have bat-like ears and large eyes, adapted to the deep, dark locations that we're going to be in. I also use Esperanto for their speech because it's an easy language to just like punch a bunch of stuff into that no one knows how to speak. So even the people who they speak French, Spanish, Italian, and like a few other languages in that area, like they're just like I mean I sort of understand maybe some of the verbs. It's kind of funny. I like it. So I just punched up a bunch of pre-programmed responses essentially that some of the individuals are like yelling back and forth or just whatever. They're talking back and forth a little bit, and like the party can hear it. They can maybe understand some stuff, and like this time, a couple of them were like, I mean, honestly, this particular party didn't seem all that interested in like even attempting, but they were like constantly just asking questions and questions and questions. The leader, Tana, does actually speak some common, so it's not very easy for her to understand, and it's not very easy for the party to understand her. But at the same time, there's at least a level of communication that's going on there. Whereas on the other hand, like the other party members, or well, the other Claustra who are there, do not understand any common at all, so they will speak Esperanto to each other back and forth. So, interlingua. I don't think I know that one. Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Ranks among the top 3 most widely used international auxiliary languages after Esperanto and perhaps Ido. Yeah. So that's the other thing is that like interlingua would be at least mildly understandable, I think. Esperanto is much more heavily I think much more heavily influenced by Spanish particularly, but I don't know. But streamlined, yeah. Yeah. So like that's kind of what I don't want. I want this to be something that is not really comprehensible, but at the same time there might be snippets that people are like, okay. Because like these guys have been essentially isolated in the sewers for decades, centuries, in terms of their like culture. They're not interested in really interacting with the humans above. All right. Okay. Party meets the claustra. Okay, I want one battle with sewer jackals followed by, or well, okay. Minor puzzle involving minor puzzle involving crossing a flooded area. So basically what I've done is I said that this whole area basically is running parallel to the river and then like moves south for the last bit and dumps out essentially at the ocean. This large sewer area is then going to put most of its effluent into the treatment plant at the end. So like there's an exit at the treatment plant if the PCs want to go there instead of following the actual plot. Depends on what the goal is, really. So Ocker has the goal. Ocker has the goal of moving the PCs toward the Voss group, which is actually where he works. This is in Central. And oh no, the beer baron. Oh goodness. City-state of Nestora. Anti-laws Pinterest. Yes, that's the one. Ugh. I don't really want to show off my Google account. Boo. ArtStation. There we go. Now I don't have to go to Pinterest. Oh, this is on a different screen, so it doesn't matter. Save image as Volcana map. Yes, what do you know? Store map. Okay, so somewhere down here, let's insert image uploaded. Downloads. That is not what I want. Question mark. Picture. No. Well, that's not what I want either. I don't want the screenshots because that's should be downloads. That's really weird. Where is that? Ah, pictures, TTRPG. Jeez. There we go. And then if we image options, text wrapping, wrap. Oh, gross. Nice. Right. So Voss group is number 67 right here. And the market bank area is 20, which is roughly speaking where the incident happens. I put the shop, Farkaya's wonders or whatever somewhere right in this block. And so they had to run. I had Ocker have them run up here somewhere and duck into like a side alley. And then somewhere in the all field area-ish, they disappear underground and then have to make their way all the way out here and then back down if they want to go, like, out, which is not the goal. Or they make it a little ways down here, try to cross the river, and find that the way to actually get across the river is now blocked. It's flooded. The bilge pumps that are down there haven't been working, so likely from the terrorist attack that happened the day before, usually. And, no one's been down yet, so. Chicken bacon ranch stuffed crust pizza. Wow. So, they have multiple different options as far as what they want to do. They could try to move the rocks that have fallen in the in the pathway that they're supposed to go, or at least as far as Ocker knows, that's the way to go. We got to go this way. Or they could go further down and find a flooded passageway. And so the question is, okay, how do we get the bilge pumps operating? Our guy, two of our people, in fact, in the campaign, have really good engineering skill. And so, it's a joke for them to have to do anything involving engineering. But nonetheless, they're able to figure it out. I'm going to reward them for at least having really good stats. So, so they cross basically somewhere south of the bridge, go underneath, and then on this side there's a whole another mess of stuff going on. So, what I've got is that there is a kind of few small rooms that don't really have anything in it, but they hear something up ahead, and it turns out it's some of the claustra trying to some of the claustra in a large space fighting off more sewer jackals. And sewer jackals are basically fox rats. They have scenes. They have pictures in here, so something that looks roughly speaking like that. Which, they're not super dangerous until you have a pack of them, because they have pack tactics. And, anytime that one of them rolls doubles, and hits, they then automatically give one of their other compatriots who has not used this feat to be able to use 2 stun points to attack again automatically. And so they can get a maximum of 2 attacks per sewer rat, per sewer jackal, every single turn. I, on the other hand, have rolled complete crap, and so they don't even hit their first one most of the time, and most of the rest of the time they don't roll doubles. So, I mean, you'd think, right? Doubles are 1 in 6 chance. 6 out of 36 possible rolls are going to be doubles. And no, it's way lower than that. Actually, that's only out of 2 dice. If we got a third one, we got 3 choose 2 as well stuck in there. So, hooray. Okay, so the goal here is that Kinagiras is the lord of the below world and going to attempt to frighten and rout players so that they run. He wants them to run. When they run, then he attacks them. Tries not to kill them immediately, but then eventually is going to actually attempt to kill them. So the first area that I had is kind of a, I call the first one the dog run. Because basically it's like the ruins of a big city are behind this area. I separated the area that looked like a town square, sort of, where the Klaustra were, where they were fighting their sewer jackals, from the dog run, which is basically a straight, like 100-some-odd meter, just flat, slightly curved area where Kinagiras could get up to full speed if he so chose. So the idea would be to either the players can opt to run, or they can opt to, if they noticed that Kinagiras is blind, they'll duck into, debris and stuff like that and just try to hide. Kinagiras will then attempt to scare them. When somebody is scared, they immediately just try to run in the opposite direction. They absolutely will not, stay in a hidden place unless it's, basically literally impossible to leave their hiding place. He would like to get individual players by themselves, and so that's going to be the big attempt here. I have my translations here. Ads are about to start, so we'll take a 3-minute break. And I encourage everybody else, get out there, stretch your legs, do all sorts of cool stuff. And we shall return fairly shortly. It'll be pretty close to 3 minutes. We'll see how it goes. All right, be right back. All right. So with the usual, let's try and right, get the blood flowing a bit. So, warm-up exercises meant to increase blood flow, increase the synovial joint fluid flow so you can get that going. That's an easy one to fix. Because there's a drawer missing over here. Hey. God, really? All right. So we begin. Land like this. Then we tuck in. here. Gonna go down and out like this. Back up, nope, behind the ear. And then we do carry tiger to mountain. Then press, push. To here. Right, where step out, shift weight back and forward this direction. Shorten that. Go for a slap this way, and then come around and pop there. Then we do a monkey, whatever the thing is. So right hand comes back to about even with here. It's going to go past the head, step straight back, and then pop like that. Feet need to be parallel, actually, and leaning mostly on the back leg. And then this needs to be that way. Then we do the same thing, like that. Then we do the same thing on the other side. So left hand comes back. This is here to parry. And then we just come straight back. This goes to here. Try to keep the feet even and parallel, roughly speaking. I don't actually know how many of those we're supposed to do. That was as far as we got in the form. Uh-oh. Oh no. What just happened? Oh, there we go. Hey Don, how's it going? Good evening and welcome. And hi to everybody who's coming in from Don's. Okay, good, it went off. I hope you all are having a good evening. So you're off doing some math. How'd it go? I'm technically on that raid. What? Yeah, so we're trying to write some for our TTRPG campaign, which is I got the book right in front of me. TitansGrave, The Ashes of Volcana, co-written by Will Wheaton, his son Ryan, and a number of other people, including Jackson Lansing, who is a fairly celebrated comic book author. Comic book author. So if anybody has some interest, check his stuff out. It's really cool. Contour integrals, talked about integration by parts, limit of e to the 1 over x as x goes to 0 to the negative. Yep. Zero from the negative side. Yep. Good times. So yeah, we've attempted to try and figure out what to do with this whole setup. I had the idea of having the PCs meet one of the BBEGs, like basically on day one. We were doing chapter 0, which was another element that I wrote. Most of everything is out of this book, so I can't take credit for that. That's these awesome people who are on the front page. All of those awesome people. So yeah, there's I was planning on trying to get them to meet up with the BBEG on like day 1, and then like I rolled so terribly that I was just like, you guys were supposed to meet somebody, but honestly, it just never happened. And they were just like, I mean, I'm like, I know, but at the same time, you want to let the dice lie where they're gonna lie, so. But this is going to work out better. So essentially what's going to happen is we've got this NPC, Ocker, is trying to lead the party across town underground to the Voss group, which is where his boss works. And not the Voss group, just Voss group. And along the way, they've had to find a few different ways around things. So, okay, so we're going to have the minor puzzle involving crossing a flooded area. Then, if they activated the pumps, like my PCs did, then we want to activate the sewer jackals who are being displaced by like the loud noises and stuff like that. So they all come out and they're like, haha. Or if they don't do that, then they could go past some sewer jackal nests and they hear skittering in the darkness and oh no, they're being hunted because it's rare that food just kind of wanders into sewer jackals nest areas. Okay. I don't really want to give all of that information in here. This is supposed to be smaller, like the stuff up there, but whatever, it's fine. All right, we'll do something like that. All right, let's make this slightly more readable as an outline, I guess. If anybody is in and does not know me, I am Obi-Wan Pez. This is N Simplex Pachinko. We do mathy type stuff here on Mondays and Wednesdays, and gamey type stuff on Tuesdays, Thursdays, asterisk, and Fridays. Mostly what we're doing on Tuesday is whatever game is in the queue at the moment. It is Blueprints. We have figured out the mystery of room 46 and are now trying to put a bunch of other stuff together to get more of the red envelopes that everybody's telling you to look for. Then on Thursdays we do some TTRPG prep, and on Fridays we play For the Long Game, some sort of longer game, which we just ended a run on Against the Storm, which worked out pretty well for us. It was pretty awesome. And the last couple weeks we've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. We had a save file that got corrupted. Well, the file didn't get corrupted. I attempted to install some mods and it crashed the whole thing because I run Linux and apparently it didn't play nice. So, yeah, we're gonna work our way through. We just made it up to we completed Auntie Ethel's quest there. Amusingly, our who was it even? I don't know. It might have been Gail. Just like pushed her off of a ledge. It was like, what? I can't even. That is absolutely absurd. How did that happen? But yeah, No, you know what? It was Lae'zel. Lae'zel went through and was just like, shove. She got knocked into a hole. I was like, you okay? Just we'll take it. Because we had been doing pretty well, and then something really bad happened, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna save Scum because I don't. Yeah, it was just like she just materialized and murdered all of us. I'm like, great, all right, cool. Let's just save Scum. So I went back and tried again, and apparently prevented a lot of that issue. Because again, we just shoved her off a cliff. Far less interesting, but still perfectly valid um, strategy. I didn't really intend to do that, but hey, whatever. All right, Kinekitas plays fetch or hide and eat with the party. Hmm. Then, um, Kinegita's battle is technically optional. They might find a way to trick him into just going and looking somewhere else. They might find some way in which to distract or lock him in somewhere, or who knows. So we gotta figure out exactly what they're gonna do. I think mine are probably gonna turn on him and fight. Um, okay, but then after the battle, they're going to approach the elevator to Voss group. Um, the party is going to be confronted by war. This is kind of somewhat non-standard. It is not in the book whatsoever. This is something that I've created. However, I think this is very beneficial, depending on what's going on. So, not really. I thought his name was in here. Pretty sure that's what I've said. Well, anyway. Yes, there it is. ELWYN. Yes. Okay, so in the sewers. Okay. Water in the sewers is mostly not sewage. Most of the waste is taken care of through composting systems, tended to autonomously. Unless people. Okay, can be treated or untreated wastewater flowing out of an environment. Yes, other waste that's dumped into water. So it doesn't have to be sewage. It can be runoff. In this particular case, it's going to be dirty, right? It's still going to be pretty nasty. It's going to take most of like the surface oils. In Velkhana, there are no actual like fuel oils, so we don't have to worry about that at least. But there are going to be just like oils that come from all sorts of things that end up getting picked up on the water that's coming down here, and getting in all sorts of stuff. So right, dragging trash and other ephemera. Not really. I mean, it's not wrong. Things that come and go, right? Transient documents of everyday life. So menus, ticket stubs, newspapers, postcards, posters, sheet music, stickers, greeting cards, etc. So all that stuff. Litter. Just because litter can be literally anything. It can be like leaves, sticks. Alright, the water is collected tannins from the leaves and other plant material. And is now a and is now a rusty color. With much particulate. Right. Turbidity is a measurement of cloudiness. Relative clarity. Yep. Excellent. Significantly turbid. Okay. What else we got? Okay. Players enter the tunnel. They need to decide whether to walk in the water or on the sides. Sides are only 6 inches off the water's edge. Require a dexterity acrobatics skill check. Challenge. in order to get and stay on the mildly slippery surface. So it's not going to be a big, huge deal. TN 11. Okay, tunnels themselves house some small number of grates filtering in natural sunlight at odd intervals. That's later. It's not an alley. Not items. Okay, party must find the elements themselves. Pump room. Um, Alright, we're slowing down pretty significantly. I think we're going to have to just call it a night here and find one of our other friends. Let's go check out SDK Phoenix, friend of ours from Astroneer days way back, and also somebody else who's just really awesome. Go check him out, and we will be back probably tomorrow with more Baldur's Gate, and that's going to probably do it for our run here in this particular stream space. So good luck, everybody. We're gonna move out as of Monday and Tuesday, and I am going to personally move all of my electronics and other fragile stuff. You know, as much as I can probably trust the professional movers, and as much as they probably have insurance, I don't want my stuff to get damaged. So, all right, see you all later. We'll be back tomorrow, like I said, and I